Jani. So let me introduce you guys to Harshal. So Harshal is currently a third year student at NIT Surat, pursuing majors in BTech CSE and BTech EC and minors in BTech CSE. And he is currently a software development engineer intern at Samagra. He has also contributed to the Google Summer of Code 22 at CERN HSF and has participated in various open source initiatives. So, welcome, Harshal. It's a pleasure to have you with us. And thank you for giving us your time. So, without further ado, I'm going to hand over the session to Harshal. And in the end, we will also take questions from the audience through the pigeonhole link that we have sent you guys on the WhatsApp. So, feel free to shoot your questions.
Thank you, Vanaja, for this great introduction. So, hi everyone, how are you? I hope everyone would be fine. Um, shall we wait or start the session? Would people still join, or it would be good to just start?
No, you can just go ahead and start the session. As it is, it's
Thank you.
3:05.
Yes, sure. Okay. Cool, guys. So let's start the session, and in between we will keep talking, and at the end we also have Q&A. So let's start. This session is all about GSoC and open source. Let me introduce, already Vanaja introduced me, so this same thing is here, but mostly you would see myself contributing to open source events and many different things. And the place where I'm currently interning, they also provide some open source services, and also there are some proprietary services as well. Also, you can find me on some IRCs of KDE or many Linux communities where I'm still contributing, trying to contribute. Many different things are happening in many communities. So let's get started with what is open source in general, because GSoC is all about open source. So this is some boring definition from Wikipedia, which I don't feel like reading, but the main part of this is free and open source softwares. There is this term FOSS you might have heard here and there many times. So the best part of this is this word free does not mean that you don't have to pay for the services, but this is this bold line, like where anyone is freely licensed to use. So free is in a sense of freedom, like not the way the softwares are supposed to be free. You can still get charged for premium services, but they are free. The source code is available to you. You can tweak them and use them in any way which you would love to use. So the best part about open source tools is we use them in daily life, and maybe we know them that they are open source, or maybe we don't know them. So some of the daily open source tools which there are high chances you might be using are the Linux kernel, like many operating system which are written on Linux kernels, or maybe if you are a web developer, then you might have definitely heard about this React framework by Facebook. So this is also one open source tool. And you might be using Firefox web browser or VLC media player or Blender if you are artist or you make 3D animations or render those animations. So these are some open source tools which you use daily. So these are all made due to collaborative efforts of many developers around the world, and not just one company or one, two engineers who work on them. So let's just directly get started with Google Summer of Code, and I'll be giving you guys a rapid walkthrough about what happens in this, what people have to do, and what exactly is this Google Summer of Code. So it is again an open source program, and this is mentorship program. So you don't have to work on the projects all by yourself alone. There would be a mentor, one or two, or depends on organizations. How, and those mentors will help you with this project. Wherever you are stuck, you can ask the mentor how to proceed further, and they would be helping you. So they would be helping you. To promote open source, and it is conducted in summer. So this entire meeting, which is Google Summer of Code, this explains, like in these 4 statements, why this name exists. So some goals of GSoC are to introduce new contributors to open source software development, and help open source projects bring in new excited developers who stay involved in the communities after the program ends. This is important step. Like you work on some project, when you work personally with no other collaborations, then the issue is that you made one project, and after making that project you just leave it as it is, and it might be mentioned on your resume, but there are high chances that you would never go back to that project. But the thing with open source project is that many people uses it daily, and they, if they face any issues, they will report bugs, and if they are capable, they can also solve those bugs by themselves. So it, it just keeps going on, it never ends. So this is best part of open source projects. The third point says it gives contributors exposure to real world software development scenarios like testing, version control, software licensing, distributed development, etc. So the way companies work and they develop software is pretty much similar to the way we do our projects in GSoC. So while you are a student, you can get this kind of benefits and create more open source code for all to use. Okay, so what happens is that many companies, the place where I work, we don't create each and every part of the project from scratch. We use some open source tools which are available from first, and using that we just do the groundwork very quickly. It helps in quick prototyping, so you don't have to spend much time over the basic things which you can like you already have that opportunity to create, but better to use some existing tools and improve those tools rather than creating copies of existing tools. So this is all about this goals of GSoC. So the flow of program is pretty simple. Like first, the open source organizations will apply with, they will come with their project ideas. That these are some projects which we would like to, which we would like the students to build, and they will bring some projects on board. Then Google chooses some of the organizations based on the novelty of the projects, how good it could be for a beginner, and how well the project has been pitched by the organization based on other criteria. Google chooses some organizations and allots the slots to organizations that you can get this many slots for this entire season of code. Next, contributors, those are the persons which are we, like people like us, students. Until this year, the open Google Summer of Code was. I hope there are no background noises, right?
Actually, Harshli, yeah, that's what I was going to say. There is a bit of a disturbance, and
Okay, this I cannot control.
no, no big deal. But then, in case there's some window that you can close or something like that, it'll be very good.
Okay, let me just try. Just 1 minute. Uh, Hello, hey.
Yep,
I think the noise would still be there, but maybe a little bit less. I don't know. Maybe is it still audible?
it is, but then it's okay, no issues.
Okay,
Yeah, it's fine.
okay, cool. So in GSoC, contributors are people like us, students. So until this year, it was completely a students-only program where only students can participate and be part of GSoC. But this year, they opened this for all, like anyone who is above the age of 18 can be a GSoC contributor. So this is something which concerned, like, the ratios were little bit mismatched, but still the amount of students is 80%. So this is kind of still considered as a student's event as well. So you get some uh, real world contribution scenarios. Cool. So we, as in contributors, submit our project proposals to the mentor organization. So the organizations which Google selected, you have to send them proposals that this is the project, and this is my idea about how I would be implementing this project in this way using these technologies, all those kind of stuffs, and they would review your proposals and many other proposals. Based on that, they would rank your proposals, and if there is no other proposal which is better than yours, then for that project you are definitely selected as a contributor. So once you are selected, then from first you would be knowing your mentor. So you would be working with your mentor. The mentor would explain the project in more detail, and in case you just don't get some technical aspects, then mentor will help you to get through it. And then the coding period begins, and the contributors work on their projects. So this is how the entire flow of the GSoC program is. So pretty easy, right? Like it's pretty simple. You just submit one proposal, your proposal gets shortlisted, and that's it. You are GSoC contributor. Let's see what the audience response is. So if people would understand this, then we can directly skip to the last slide. Otherwise, let's see the intermediate steps as well. So what do you guys feel? Maybe you can write a reaction or chat box. What would be the best way to do? Can you guys write in chat box? Are they allowed?
Yeah, they are.
Okay, cool. Can you guys write in chat box? Like, was this a pretty simple and easy explanation about GSoC? Like the flow which I just showed, like apply the to organizations, send proposals, get shortlisted. Simple Boolean question, yes or no? Maybe. Cool. Many answers are yes, but since I have prepared the slides, I won't directly skip to last slide. And there are how many people? 55. So, okay, out of 55, pretty less yes. So let's go through each and every slide as well. So there are some rules or maybe some techniques which I have observed, and I feel this should be the ideal way to get into GSoC, and this should be the ideal way to approach this event specifically. So let's discuss those events. First is this subset theory. So GSoC is not just everything in open source world, right? This is very small part of open source, and open source is even a part of computer science. So all in all, if you are keen about computer science and open source, then doing GSoC would be some side thing which you can do. But like if you completely aim that GSoC is something which has to do anything with the development, then this might not be a good case scenario. So it is always better to get thorough with computer science concepts, then open source, and then GSoC. Like this should be the ideal flow of doing things. You can always opt directly for GSoC, but some pre-work will always be beneficial, right? There are some C's to getting GSoC is code, contribute, and collaborate. By code, I mean that it is important to do some projects initially. So if you are aiming to work in some projects, that project uses some amount of technologies, let's say JavaScript or let's say Rust language. So there should be some amount of coding part which you have already done. Like it's not important to do each and everything, but at least 50%, 40% of the technologies which they are mentioning, you must be at least you must have coded some very basic thing in this. Second part is contribute. So before directly aiming to GSoC projects, it is really important that you contribute in some other open source project which are maybe part of GSoC or may not be part of GSoC. Some organizations are already there, which do come with their projects in different open source event and not GSoC, but they are still great organizations. So you cannot judge an organization like whether they are um, good or bad on the basis of the GSoC selection or not. So it is always important to do some contributions. They really help at the end to let your mentor get some confidence that is you can contribute. So you don't have to spend some time in learning how to contribute, rather than just focus on whatever the project is, the one which you have opted for. Next comes collaboration. So collaboration is the like main part of contribute and collaborate. This should be combined and done collectively. You can collaborate on IRCs. Just go to IRCs and see what people are. Let me just say that IRC is Internet Relay Chat. So those are the place where discussions are happening. So you need to visit those IRCs and just know what is happening in that project or in that entire software, what is happening. This is really important to know. So you can go there and give your opinions as well. So someone says that this link, let's say there is one chat application where when you hover on some links, those links get opened up in new page, but you see that hashtags are also opening in new page, but you don't want those hashtags to open, so you can just give your opinions out there. So this should not be the way to do things. I feel this should be a good way, so you can even go there, work with other people, and this is all about contribute and collaborate. This should be done hand in hand. For this, I have one side note. The main basic difference between Git and GitHub, I guess you guys might have already gone through this kind of stuff, or maybe there would be some sessions on Git and GitHub. But the main basic difference is that Git is some version control tool which contains your code files, but GitHub is mirror where you can see your code. So it's similar like code editors. You in your PC, you do know that there are some code files, but you only get those files when you see them on code editors. Otherwise, you won't feel those files, but they do exist. So on Git, code do exist, but you can only feel that code in GitHub. So this is the very layman terms basic difference between Git and GitHub. So this is the basic contribution mantra: fork, clone, add, commit, push, pull. This is the way almost entirely half of the world's software work in open source. So first step would be forking the project. Let's say there is one project which has its Git instance and is hosted on GitHub. So first step would be forking that repository. Once you fork that repository, now the entire code is being owned by you. There would be one copy of yours in GitHub itself on the mirror, and that copy would be owned by you. Now you own that part of code. Now you can do anything you want with that code. You can like modify the way you want the software to be. Next step would be cloning. Cloning means that once you fork, it would still be on GitHub. So now you want those code files to be on your local machine, let's say your laptop. So you clone that entire code base, and now you get the code on your machine. So after you get code on your machine, then we all do the contributions or coding in a very simple manner, the way we daily do. Like you edit the files, you test it on your browser if it's web development project or any other kind of environment. Then once you test it and you are confident enough that this code works the way you want it to work, then you all you have to do is just update the code to the main repo where the code belongs, right? So for that, the next steps are adding. Adding means you need to do some changes to them, stage those file to Git. Staging means you did some changes locally. Now you need to push those changes to your GitHub mirror first, and then from your GitHub mirror, we will need to push it to the original code base where the code belongs. So first step would be adding. Adding just stages your files in a way that whatever changes you have done are final and these are ready to get committed. So now you commit those changes. Commit is something which can change the history of code base. In your code base, you would definitely see some logs, commit logs, where what other people have done in past you can easily see. So this is why commit messages, if you know the term, that commit messages are important. So they should be written in a way that other people can understand with the help of those commit messages directly what has been done by you for that particular section of code. The next step would be pushing those commits. So you do git add, git commit, that still would be in your local copy. The best part of this would be pushing this to your fork on GitHub or any mirror on GitLab or any other instances, but GitHub is most popular instance. So you would be pushing your local commits, and this should do the job. So now once you push your code, it should be in your GitHub mirror, which where you own your code. Once you have your code in that mirror, you have to open one pull request. Now this pull request is the main part where you will be sending one patch from your change to the original repo, original owner of the code. So once you send your code to that original repo, there would be some maintainers or reviewers who would be reviewing your codes. And once, if they are confident as well that your code makes sense and this should be the thing which which might be useful for people, then they would just merge your pull request, and now the world is ready to use your code or whatever the change you have proposed. The procedures doesn't seem very simple yet because the code bases are really large, and this is something which is intimidating for GSoC, getting started with GSoC. So the fourth rule would be grokking the code base. Grokking is the meaning is understand intuitively or by empathy. So maybe just staring at code base and understanding what is happening in this particular line, and so the best part is that no one knows the entire code base, right? Like even the creator, let's say Python, the creator of Python, he himself don't understand every each and every part of the code base. He do know what is happening in which part, but he don't know the entire code base because it is open source project and many people just maintain those code and they keep do daily changes. How like there are many thousands of people, how much people he would be monitoring each and every day. So you don't know the entire code base. You need to search a particular part of code which you are concerned with. Let's say you are solving one bug, and the bug is about notifications. So you need to search in entire code base which part of code, which file is actually uh, responsible for getting that notifications done. So once you get that file, then it's pretty easy. Like the dependencies which they are using, everything needs to be well documented. And good open source project is the one where they have documented each and every part. So you don't have to go through the entire code base. You just need to search, keep searching the best part which would be useful for you and which would make sense of changing, and then you should do the job. So it's like divide and rule policy. You just divide the entire code base based on what you need, and then you just rule over that part and do your changes and then contribute. So there is recently one technology of AI, Chat GPT, which every one of us would be knowing. So the question comes that if everything is done by this AI, then how would we as a developer survive? So humans already have emotions, right? So AI cannot decide what you need to do with that code. The decision taking is always with us. The AI can help you. AI can help you with the best strategy or best way to deal with code, but at the end of the day, decision and the way we interact with the code is still in our hands. So this should not be the case while dealing with development projects. So another rule which is really important is asking good questions. So if you go to any IRCs of open source projects, and if you just ask them randomly that, hey, hi, this I am this, and I want to contribute in this project. How should I get started? So no one really knows what you know. Like you can claim that I know C++, Python, Java, JavaScript, but do you really know what should be the novelty that you know? Like they can shoot you with links that these are some open issues which you can work on, but still you looking at directly at issues, you won't get a clear cut idea of what is happening. So before asking direct questions, it's really important that you do some homework first. There are already great amount of documentation, and also there is one event, Google Season of Docs, so where technical documentations are also written. So knowing the documentations, reading them first, and knowing contribution guidelines, how an open source project works, what are their expectations from a new contributor, what are their expectations for their project, how would they want their project to progress. All these things are really important to know. So we need to first do our homework first from our sides rather than directly shooting anyone with text, what should I do, right? This, no one knows like where we stand in development, so we cannot directly go and ask what should I do. This is very lame question to ask. So it should always be really good idea to do some work first from our side and then ask people. Next is code is better than text. So let's say I am contributing to some project, and I know that this could be done in this way. So, but I'm unsure that is it really the way to do this. So on that IRC again, I ask that I'm trying to attempt this in this manner. So the guy would be confused, like what you are trying to explain him would not be clear. You might be using some different grammar. He might be using some different thing. It is always better to send them code snippets. Let's say you want to develop some part of code, then rather than sending it in the form of text that in this API I want this text to be or I want this endpoint to be exposed publicly, or I want this to be privately. Like rather than doing this, you can directly send one code snippet to just understand what the actual flow should be. And yes, it is okay to not to know. So if you have already tried doing your work first, and it's almost much amount of time you put into it, and still you don't get what the thing is happening with this part, then you need to ask them. Then no one should refrain from telling you. But it's always better to do work first from our side rather than directly asking people. Cool. So the GSoC way of doing things is, it is really important to start early contributions. So early contributions allows you to have some gap of time in the the GSoC timeline, so that you can understand the code base or the project which you are aiming for. So if you start early, then there are higher chances that you would understand the project better than others, and you should with better understanding, create a good proposal and send those proposal to the mentor, because proposals are the main part in GSoC on the basis of which you get shortlisted. So uh, like it's once in a lifetime opportunity. So you should always keep the best focus on preparing the proposal which rules out, and no one else can just cover that proposal up. And yes, you should reach out the mentor. It's like it depends on, somehow they allows you to contact the mentor, in some they won't allow. So you need to take some rational choices whether when to reach out the mentor. And when you reach out the mentor, just talk about project specific things. The mentor don't really want to know about how you like what are your past works. This should be just portrayed in your proposal. You can just say in proposal that I have worked on this technologies in past, but in your whatever you discuss with mentor, it should be project specific. Like I want to do this, and for this I know these things. So this is really a way that you can approach mentor. And mentors are really busy people. They get many texts a day, so they don't have time to reply to each and every question. So the more specific question you would ask to the mentor, the more he would get prompted to answer those questions. So this is the way you approach the mentors. And the best part is you should always send a draft proposal before the deadline to your potential mentor. Like who would be your mentor, everything would be mentioned on the idea list of an organization, so you would know it beforehand. And you should always prepare one draft proposal and send it before the deadline is over. So mentors are the people who would help you if you are wrong somewhere in the proposal. Then he can help you out, and this could always lead you towards a better proposal writing thing. So some benefits of GSoC are you can get exposed to real world development, and then there is always a stipend for medium sized. In India, it is $1,500 and $3,000 for large sized project, and medium sized they last around 10 to 12 weeks, and large size is about almost 18-20 weeks. So it opens more doors. You can mention this in resume, you can get interns maybe, or you can even use this. Let's say there is another open source program which is coming up, which is Summer of Bitcoin. So the thing with Summer of Bitcoin is that you need to first give one programming test, and then you move to the proposal writing round. But this year when I applied, the programming test shoot me up with graph questions with Floyd Warshall algorithm, and at that point I had no idea about what this Floyd Warshall algorithm is. So I miserably failed that test, and that I could not make it to even the proposal writing round. But this time they would every time they have one policy that if you are past GSoC contributor, then you don't need to give those kind of tests. You can directly move towards the proposal writing round. So there are many opportunities which, if you are a GSoC student, then they would give you direct entries to. So this is always beneficial. And then you can get invited to take sessions like this, and I like many other benefits. So thank you very much for listening, and we can now move towards the Q&A session, and
Yeah, yeah.
let's
I'll
start
be
this.
sharing the link. Yeah. So these are the questions that like the audience presented us with. So yeah, we can start with the most upvoted ones.
Okay, cool. Uh, okay, how to find the organizations to contribute which aligns with your area of interest and expertise. This is pretty famous question. So the way to approach the organizations would be you need to just go to the official GSoC site, go to archives in past programs, then see which organizations bring what type of projects. And let's say in if you go to that sites, yeah, can I share my screen again?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Just a second.
Okay, cool. Okay, so in this site, if you go to past program, let's say you went here. So let's say there are many organizations and you are interested in one or two organizations. So open the organization which interests you. Now this is chat, which is IRC, which I am talking about almost all the time. But let's say these are the technologies, right? So this is not the final ultimatum technologies that you might be using in your projects. So if you see this projects, they might be using some different technology. So the technologies which you see here are not the final version of what you would be doing. This currently this program is archived and past program, but when the new 23 org list would be announced, there would be similar kind of idea list here. So when you click on those idea lists, you would be landed on some different page. Every organization uses their own different kind of pages. So in this page, let's say this is one project which you want to do. In this project, you need to read this problem statement, go through some links which they would be providing you, and then this directs us to the Jira bug of Apache. So in here, if you need to know about what is happening in this project, so it is really important to know what is happening in the project and what this project is about. So you need to read some readmes about the project, find some GitHub links, and this is how you can know about a project. So coming to the question, how we can get the best organization and technologies aligned, then this is pretty explorative thing. You need to know beforehand about what the organization is and what kind of things they are bringing in past. So you need to see some projects from first, and based on those projects, you can just like if you go to GitHub and see those readmes, then in readmes you would find some technologies which are open. So let's say we open one issues Jira bug, right? In that bug, if you see, if you need to read this description, it's a lot to do. And let's say there are some links to those things, so we it redirects us to this repository. What it does, I don't know. Let's say we went to code. in code, we would say this is pretty much written in Java. So this project should revolve around Java. So this is how you decide that this organization Apache has one project which they are bringing, and this project is written mostly in Java. So if I know Java, then I would be not a very good fit, because knowing Java is not enough. You need to know what this project does. So you need to go through some README. If they have some documentation, then it's always better to read documentation and then try to understand what this project is all about. And then specifically come back here and read again what this part is demanding from you to do. And once you know that part, let's say they are saying to do something, then you need to you can always search from here about that part. For example, mm, um, like linearizing some algorithm or something. So linearize this repo. Okay, maybe I don't know how it works, but you can always search some specific keywords from this and get the part from this code. Or sometimes you also can get some idea about what is going on with this commit history. So this guy is saying that add linearize read in counter examples. What is this? So based on this, you can see what files he is editing. There are some files like constants.java or some other files. This file has massive amount of change, which is used for linearize. So this is how you get that part of code, and this is how you um, find that part. And now if you reach here, you need to understand what this line does, what it does in entire code base. So you don't have to know each and everything, but find rationally and keep choosing what seems best to you. This is how you align the tech and org all together. Like we don't really know what is happening, because the thing is the person who writes these technologies here is the organization admin. An org admin, sometimes he may know about all the technologies and he may mention each and every tech. Otherwise, some projects are there which some other person is handling, and he may have not informed about this project to org admin. And org admin is the person who don't know about every project. He do know, but maybe he don't have a clear cut idea. So he may miss some tech, or maybe he add some tech which they were using ages ago and now they don't use. So this is not the final thing, but it's always in ideas list. Go to ideas list, find that particular find the project which you like, and based on those projects, just choose which technology is used in this project. This is how you align both.
So yeah, moving on to other questions. Just a second. So yeah.
Some open source repos for beginners to get started with their first contributions. Yes, this should be. There are many repos like good first contribution, and there are many repos, but mostly I would say that for just starting out, be part of some open source programs, right? There's many like Hacktoberfest, but this time Hacktoberfest is like it already went, right? So upcoming programs which I can see you is GSC Triple IT Kalyani. They are organizing Winter of Code 3.0, or maybe some. There are many open source programs. Like I can share some links where you can get a really contribution friendly repo. So I already have some with me, some links. So I don't know whether these programs are still continuing or not, but about this GDSC, I'm sure that it would continue. Here are some links which let me paste in chat box. So also like there are some other Girl Script Winter of Code, Girl Script Summer of Code. These are some programs where you can get some beginner friendly repos. And other best way to do this is that you can always go to GitHub and wait, this link. Okay, I'm sending 3 links for now. Wait, let's go to Winter of Code as well. Mm, okay, cool. Okay. These are some links where you can get some beginner friendly open source events. And other thing is, so can you go to GitHub?
Yeah, yeah. Or should I just stop screen sharing? Would you like to share your screen?
Okay, then you can do that as well.
Yeah.
Also come to GitHub and go to issues section. Just remove your name from here. Oh, and then just do label easy. For good first issues, right? There are two kinds of label, either easy, but good first issue is more visible to people. So you just need to search it in this way from issues section. Okay. So once you do this, then you may find some really easy open issues. So based on those, you can go there and contribute to those projects. So this is how you find the initial contributing work. So let's say these are beginner friendly issues. What they want, you can see in those packages or yeah, sorry, issues or whatever this is. Like you can always find there are tons of issues which are which are marked as good first issues. So this is the way you can directly get started if you want to contribute. Or maybe if you are using JavaScript, then you can also add JavaScript with this label. I think comma would not work, or yeah, it worked. Cool. So update the border radius of search bar. This could be done like easily. So maybe this is how you search easy issues and just know what this project is doing. Just fork clean. This is where you fork and then clone and other stuff. This is the way you find easy to contribute issues. Cool. Oh, how to participate in GSoC. The entire session was about this, by the way. Okay. But as I mentioned, do some pre-contributions and then keep visiting the projects. Like make some choices that this project is interesting to me and I can work on this. And yeah, this is how you select some project, then reach out the mentors with whatever you know and ask them what you don't know. They would help you out, and then based on it, just keep contributing to that project and send proposal. This is how you can participate in GSoC. What are some open source platforms or projects which we can contribute to other than GSoC? Yeah, so this is really good question. Other than GSoC, there are like these are some micro programs which I already sent in chat box. Other than that, if you are very active for Linux communities, then I do have some other stuffs for you people. Currently, one program which is going on is Season of KDE. So this is open source program where if you are Linux user, then there might be chance you might be using Ubuntu. So whatever UI you see in Ubuntu is being given by GNOME, GNOME, and this GNOME is the organization which builds your UI. But there is another variant of this GNOME which is KDE, K Desktop Environment, and these KDE people are conducting every year this season of KDE where you can help to let those people contribute. Apart from this, there is Summer of Bitcoin. If you guys are interested with blockchain and those kind of stuff, then this is another open source program and really good program to contribute to. More than that, some other programs is this Google Season of Docs, then Summer of NixOS, which again falls under the Linux things, which if you are using NixOS, then you can contribute to this NixOS as well. So these are some, like I know about Linux specific programs mostly because this I do every day. So this Xorg evoke, there is some other program like this as well. So there are many other open source programs to which you can always contribute to. So yeah, this is the programs which are apart from GSoC well known in open source communities. And most importantly, then there was another program which was C4GT conducted by the place where I am interning right now, Samagra. So C4GT is also one such open source program, but currently applications are closed. We would open this program, the application again in maybe April or so. So like there is one Discord server which you guys can always join for C4. And like every program has their own IRCs, channels, etc. So you can always join those programs.
So, yeah, we can just take like 2, 3 questions more.
Sure. Hmm. Uh, okay. Which programming language should I learn for GSoC? Again, this is a rational choice. Like you can always choose based on your interests. So mostly, one single language or one single framework or one single technology will not rule out for GSoC projects. You need to know some couple of different things and just know what actually makes software development the way it is. Next question, can I choose to opt for contributing to new technology which I have not worked upon and want to learn new tech stack using GSoC? Yes, definitely. This is about GSoC. This is the best part. You don't need to know everything, right? You can always learn first and then contribute. Trust me, learning new technologies is not really painful task. You can learn any technology within almost a week or so. Like there are always documentations, right? So a good documentation makes sure that you don't have to wander here and there. So you can always just start knowing. That's what I was saying about emotions and all those things. So you should like if you know what the project or the software is doing, then that's more than enough. Then you just need to use your logic, and technology can always be learned in between the way as well. Like I've contributed to this CERN. So in CERN they had perf, but I didn't know what the perf is, but I had used an alternative of perf, which is Valgrind. So I already know some things about performance monitoring, but I used some different tools, and then there was perf. So I asked my mentor that I know Valgrind, but I don't know perf. So what should I do? So he sent me some links, and I just learned perf in a week or so. Like it's sufficient to learn uh, like the quantity which is required to do the project. Like you don't have to learn the things entirely because no one knows things in entirety, right? So this is the way you can always choose to learn new technologies, and you should not know everything beforehand, right? You should learn something in between as well. This should work. Next question is, how has GSoC evolved since you participated, and what changes do you see on the horizon of the program? Okay, so GSoC, one evaluation is that this thing only about only students thing and then open for all. Other than this, the program is always a great part because it is handled by Google, and like Google is great. Like this is the quote which we all know. Like Google, we do adore Google every day. So Google has created many such things. So this is best part. And evaluation of GSoC, it's more like people bring more good projects, and the bar is always high in GSoC projects. So like it's not even a year I have completed my GSoC project, so cannot comment very much on the evaluation of GSoC rather than what what was going on when I did this GSoC thing. So like it is always, you can always do a good community work, right? There might be people who would be organizing some guest sessions. You can attend those sessions, learn from them, and this is the way how collaboration is done. Other than this, GSoC is part of program and not the process. Process depends on your organization and you as a contributor. So GSoC is something which is evolved from first. What have been some of the most impactful and memorable projects that have come out of GSoC? Yeah, GitLab. If you know about GitLab, which is kind of thing which is similar to GitHub, but in GitLab there was a contributor who really made the integration part very easy for people who don't know code, because in an organization there are some project manager as well. So not everyone is a tech team person. So no one, like everyone don't know how to deploy the development setup to production or things or stuff like that. So there was a guy who made this CI/CD pipeline really easy. and not one guy, but there were many people, but the one person had this as a GSoC project, and he helped to improve that thing, and it went straight from what normal people does from that to next level thing, right? So even your project manager who don't know how to code in YML, then he can just click some drop downs here and there, and on the basis of it, he can generate the entire YML file. The code, it's kind of code generator. So you do something on front end, and it will generate the YML file on back end, and then you can create the entire CI/CD pipeline. So this is some impactful project which was done by a GSoC contributor. And there are many examples like. My mentor was also mentor for Gentoo Linux. So in Gentoo, there was another contributor, Atharva, I guess, and he wrote some prefix files for RISC-V. So that the RISC-V architecture now is now like it supports Gentoo Linux to some good level, which things were not supporting earlier. Now he made things possible. So these are many stories like in GSoC, you would hear many stories of people who created impact in the world. So next question is, do non-code contributions count? Mostly for GSoC, like the name contains Google some amount of code, so they mostly there are high chances they won't get noticed, and no project would ask you for non-code contributions. Yeah, you can always like there might be chances they would ask you to write sample tests, UI testing, or like things like that. But for that too, you need to write some code. You cannot do things without code, as far as I know. Designing and all those part are not and GSoC projects so far. Like I don't know if they do exist, but mostly I've seen many projects, and I never saw any non-code contributions to GSoC as long as I know. Yeah,
So I guess we're done with the questions.
cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, from the Programming Club Committee in Ahmedabad University, I thank you, Arshil, for being here and sparing your time. For all of us, it was a huge learning experience, and thank you everyone for attending this session. And I believe you guys also got a lot to learn. So, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you for calling me. Thank you.